me at Cello, Cello. You had me at Cello. You had me at Cello. Oh, you had me at Cello.
Hey, everybody. It's 5 o'clock on a Friday. How about that? Time for another episode of Cello Chat, this time with guest Aaron Freed. Aaron, it's been far too long, from my perspective, since, it's like we've connected or really crossed paths, given that we're kind of in the same neck of the woods. But I'm just super excited that I get to visit with you now. But first things first, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Yeah. Uh, surviving the cold.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's supposedly gonna let up eventually, but um
Yeah, supposedly.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, good thing we can do this indoors.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
what's your story with cello, even from the very beginning? How'd you get started with cello? And can you kind of describe your education, your musical journey that got you to where you are now?
Sure. I mean, I was a Suzuki kid. Started young when I was 6 with a really wonderful private teacher and in group lessons, group Suzuki lessons, and then later in private lessons. And I started. So that was when I was 6, and I think by the time I was 8, I was routinely banging on the piano and trying to find sounds that I like. And kind of after a few years of that, it started. You could start calling it improvisation, I think. And at some point, I mean, then when I was 10, I was in a cello choir for the first time, and 11, I was in a string quartet. So I had a really early kind of sense that I loved chamber music and small ensemble playing. But then, meanwhile, I was still banging around and trying out, bass and guitar and later banjo, and then I was in a jazz band in high school on piano, but then kind of always came back to cello and found that it was like a unique instrument to improvise on, but also that I just always had this real deep love for string quartet playing and other chamber music. And so then when when it was time for college, I had already known for years that I wanted to be a cellist. And I applied, and I ended up going to the Boston Conservatory, which enabled me to dual enroll at Berklee College of Music in some improvisation studies,
Hmm.
while still doing like some pretty intense classical stuff. And then I did an internship while I was an undergrad teaching at a arts magnet school, and that's when I realized I love teaching as well, which I feel lucky for because it kind of goes hand in hand with a career as a performer. So and they help each other, right? Teaching and performing. So and then kind of been in and out of school for different degrees, and but while I'm not in school, I'm teaching, and I'm out of school for good. One would think, having just done the DMA,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I feel like more and more over the years I've been able to kind of synthesize um, the different things that I'm interested in, um, and kind of carve a path.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So let's see. One of the questions I really want to ask you when one sees all of the styles that you've played and the groups that you've played in and even been founding member of, you have what these days I think they'd call an entrepreneurial attitude towards playing, where you don't look for reasons to say no to opportunities. You look for Okay, what other avenues would be interesting or fun or fascinating? And I mean, just for a lot of the viewers for whom maybe that I mean, it's just like there's some maybe fear factor in taking a risk like that. I'm just kind of wondering, have you always sort of had that attitude, or have you trained yourself to go, hey, every time I say yes, or I try to get some like-minded people together to do some project, I love it. How'd that come to pass, that approach?
Yeah, I would agree that just saying yes to things is useful, and saying yes to things, especially that you're that you genuinely like, um, you know, the more yeah, the more wedding gigs you do, the more weddings you'll probably play. The more musical theater gigs you do, the more musical theater gigs. And so you say yes to the things that you enjoy. And if for me, if something involves arranging or improvisation, I tend to say yes and be excited about it and see how can I make this work. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. So it segues also to I'm often trying to channel the sorts of questions I know my students will want to hear the answers to. Like when it comes to composition, you mentioned banging around on the keyboard, but also the bass and the guitar and the banjo. Is
Hmm.
there is there something that you would say as to the pluses or minuses of either those specific instruments or just the variety of instruments that has helped you as a composer and an arranger and an improviser?
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely playing a fair amount of piano, or at least exploring the piano. I think the way that I approach cello is different because of that, and I think like it's because I'm thinking of it harmonically. I can play, and having played guitar, it's like sometimes I'll find myself, or a lot of the times I found myself playing rhythm cello, right? You have rhythm guitar, lead guitar. So rhythm cello, it's a chordal approach, and and then compositionally, when you start thinking about, you want to think about voice leading, um, it totally makes sense from the context of seeing something visually. So yeah, I mean, as a composer, I'm definitely glad that I feel like playing piano probably especially helps with that. Although, but then playing cello, I think if I only played piano and wanted to write for cello, I wouldn't be able to come up with as celloistic,
Hmm.
interesting kind of things. It's sort of like all I would have was notes and a general idea of how the instrument worked. But when you're so ingrained in an instrument, writing for that instrument becomes really cool. I feel
All
like.
right. All right. Now, among the things, I'm sure you teach it also individually to your private students, but you also even teach a class on improvisation.
Yeah.
So some of those people have not played the banjo and the guitar and the piano necessarily. So what's your approach to teaching improvisation to just plain old cellists?
Yeah, well, and in every class there's going to be a variety. Some people who've played. I mean, I think my class right now, I have someone who is a pianist. I have someone who played bass, um, and so my approach. I mean, one of the biggest things with improvisation is getting over the fear factor that you mentioned earlier. That it's well, this mentor of mine, Alice Kanak, the way she puts it is putting yourself in a oh man, I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but in a situation where you feel you have a sense of freedom of choice, right? Which is kind of a radical thing, um, sometimes for some musicians. So starting, because even if you've played piano or bass or something, yeah, improvising on the cello, even if you've improvised on the piano, improvising on the cello might feel daunting. So the idea is to start simple, and there's, I had one improvisation teacher in Boston who had us just play one note for for a week or two, but we'd explore textures and rhythm and octaves and colors and harmonics, and then Alice's approach, you start with start with just open strings and explore how do I do this on my instrument. So it's sort of not just improvisation; it's improvisation for cello. So it's starting with open strings, starting with what textures can I get with the bow, and then then thinking in a scale, right? And if you can play a major scale, you can mess around in that scale, and if you have that sense of, if you have that confidence, right? If you've gotten over that hump, and then once you can play a C major scale, you can suddenly play in a lot of other modes, and you didn't even realize it, right? And then when you have and then but then when you have these modes, yeah, then you have to go back and think about, okay, well, I can't only think melodically. I have to also be still exploring texture or leading with rhythm. So that's kind of where this, just the last class I taught the other day, we were exploring how can I make an improvisation more interesting by varying sort of what I'm leading with, right? Am I leading with am I using just minimal notes and leading with rhythm? Am I exploring the textures of my instrument, or am I thinking melodically? And so so that's one thing I've been interested in lately is how to help students kind of form solos, I guess you could say, that are engaging and that are dramatic and that build and that sort of that are engaging for the player and for the listener. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, it's because your dissertation related to jazz and the cello. Okay, so fortunately, there are distinctly more resources for us bowed string players than there used to be. But I think it's also safe to say there's room for more materials as well.
Yeah.
So was your dissertation something that would be like useful to the lay cellist trying to apply jazz concepts?
Yeah, I think so. So I mean, and my dissertation is in a way still a work in progress. I would like it basically has all 10 Suzuki books. It has content for those levels. Although the idea would be for the student, no matter their technical level, to just start at the ground floor where we have twinkle rhythms using African bell patterns and then go, using some of the early Suzuki pieces as methodology for learning swing with the bow stroke, and then then some easier, some blues, a whole blues module to develop that, right? Even if you're an advanced student on a cello, a 12-bar blues might be completely like another language. And then finally there's transcriptions and a lot of etudes that are generated from the transcriptions to try to find the facility and the ear training to play those transcriptions, and then also to implement some of that vocabulary into someone's playing. So basically, a lot of jazz pedagogy, I think, can be a little daunting for a beginner, or even someone who's new to improvisation. And so what I'm trying for with this methodology is something that can feel really accessible, but that scaffolds kind of like the Suzuki method, and also uses the orality, sort of like the Suzuki method, and like many jazz musicians over the decades have used. So your question was,
yeah, you answered it very well. The degree to which this dissertation project is useful to just cellists in trying who want to figure out how to apply jazz principles. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's just like if somebody starts out, if a cellist grabs something like either a fake book or just even a collection of, written out solos that were originally on the saxophone, like the
Right.
idioms on the sax just don't translate particularly well to the
Yeah.
cello.
Yep. And that's one of the sort of modules as well, is finding idiomatic cello things, because it's true, like a lot of you hear some John Coltrane and you're like, that sounds really cool, like, and then you try to do it on cello and you realize, oh, it sounds cool because it sounds cool on the saxophone.
Yeah.
And but then we have things that, if you play, you have your open string, and so we have access to this drone kind of, and we have texture, and pizzicato and double stops.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have range. We have a certain range, and so I just think, yeah, it's important to explore, yeah, not only the harmonic and melodic language, but the instrument. Yeah.
Excellent. I it could be a really huge resource. I hope it really takes off.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I got to figure out how to publish it and where to publish it, and then therefore how to edit it and what to change. And but yeah, anyone who's listening, if you want to take a look at the dissertation draft of this, you're just get in touch.
Terrific, terrific. Now let's see, speaking of Suzuki, you were taught originally Suzuki, and then you got Suzuki training as well. It's another one of the things I like to ask people is who have Suzuki training, how does that training inform your teaching when you teach?
Sure. I mean, I totally am a big proponent of Suzuki teacher training. But part of it was just learning from someone who has like 40 years of working with kids and learning all these little tips and tricks that they have, even beyond just the Suzuki. I mean, and then one thing that also stuck out was the learning how to deal with parents. And learn, not, I shouldn't say deal with parents, but learning about they call it like the teacher student parent triangle, right?
Yes.
And that, parents need to both, I mean, I see it over and over again that the more parents are involved, it usually leads to really good results for the students, but it's a sort of being involved in the right way. And so in lessons, sort of letting the teacher do the classroom management, so to speak. But then at home, right, the parent is like practicing with the student. And then yeah, the all of the, like, the how the repertoire builds on itself. And then also one of the big things that I learned was that I've learned over the years, but also from teacher training, is everyone is supplementing the Suzuki method, right? In me working on this jazz supplement, it's it's people are supplementing with position pieces by Rick Mooney, or note reading exercise. I can read music or essential elements, or just, and students are getting a supplement through their orchestra stuff. And so there's no pure Suzuki, and that was that kind of I think my teacher said, my Suzuki teacher trainer, Beth Cantrell, she was great. She said something like, it's going to be the freed Suzuki method, no matter what, right? It's the Cantrell Suzuki. It's the
Right.
So that was powerful to me. That you do that apprenticeship, and then you have to you tailor it to every kid, tailor it to how you teach. Finding all of the different learning styles. And so, yeah, actually, the or oral, tactile, visual stuff. I think that's worked a lot into my dissertation as well. Is okay. Uh, we have to cover our bases, right? We have to get the all of the learning styles covered, and then people will hopefully want something will work for everyone.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, the brain is a complex thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, now you said something earlier that I want to just expand on a little bit. The, I mean, you totally could have kept your career to performing, perform. And some people do, but you found enough of a love for teaching. And you said something to the effect of how well it fits with a performer's attitude and just experience and everything. So I just wonder if you would expand a little bit on your particular passion for teaching.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think working with kids is fun. Um, I think it's you get to be kind of whimsical and imaginative, and that's nice. And you're working on repertoire you like, through someone else's eyes and through someone else's sort of musicality. Um, and I mean, yeah, from a selfish perspective, I think it also does make me a better player because I'm sort of reinforcing my fundamentals. Um, uh, every time I tell a student to curve their fingers properly or whatnot, and having to think those things through, right?
Yes.
Thinking through those fundamentals and not just taking what someone told me back in 1999 for granted, just like, oh, it's because she told me to do that. It's like, you have to think every aspect for yourself. um but yeah, I mean, the main thing is I think it's just kind of a blast working with kids. And yeah, yeah.
That's
And
great.
especially like middle school age is great because they laugh at my jokes.
That's great. It's you can sure tell when you go from talking to the sixth graders to talking to the eighth graders or something.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like sixth grade. They're old enough to laugh at my jokes, but they're also young enough to laugh at my jokes.
I love
And
it.
it just makes me feel good, It's like that's what it's all about.
That's funny. All right. Another question I like to ask my guests is just a kind of a running theme of this series is about motivation. As here we are on a Friday, and hopefully all of us get our instruments out and practice every opportunity we have throughout the weekend, this wonderful skill that we have of playing cello. But sometimes people get stuck in a rut or just whatever, find themselves lacking in motivation. I mean, I know it's a big topic and we could go obviously on and on
Sure.
quite a bit about it, but in your approach, do you have some a kind of like a philosophy of how you like to help students who need a boost along these lines?
Sure. Um, I mean, if you have something to practice, it's often like that's the thing you don't want to practice. But I find if I just start with something that you enjoy, just like play. If you love playing like a Bach prelude, like start with that, and don't even worry about the thing that you have to do.
Hmm.
And or if you like improvising, start with that. Or if you or just playing along with a song that you like, or playing your favorite concerto, right? It's like if you just or maybe you love scales like me, and you just want to like play scales for a while. And what I usually find for myself is that'll just get my fingers moving. I'll be like, oh yeah, I do love this. And and then eventually it's much more likely that I'll then practice the thing that I have to practice, and
Yeah,
that I'm supposed to be practicing.
right.
Um, and if anything, yeah, I'm getting better at cello, or I'm just doing the thing. So,
Yeah.
uh, do something. Just grab the instrument, do something you like. Yeah.
Terrific, terrific. Okay, so Aaron, I know that there are people watching who don't know about your various ensembles.
Sure.
So maybe this can be kind of a combined question. I know you have a lot of projects and performances and everything. Would you go through some of these ensembles and tell a little bit about the ensemble and how it got started, and then whatever they're up to, upcoming concerts or anything?
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I had a feeling you'd ask, so I wrote these things down.
All right,
But
excellent.
yeah. Well, so I mean, a lot of my projects lately have been arrangements, so that's been cool. I've been working on some music for cello choir, a klezmer octet,
Right.
which was this fall, which was pretty cool, and some jazz duos for violin and cello. And then I've been playing in a jazz trio, and sort of been playing in two jazz groups. One that plays, it's with a pianist and a percussionist, and we do. Our pianist, he's from the kind of experimental jazz world, and our percussionist plays ton of world music and tabla, and so we sort of meet somewhere in the middle, and I'm excited about that group. It doesn't have a name yet, but
Hmm.
and then I've been playing with Hannah John Taylor, who runs the Cafe Coda here in Madison,
Hmm.
and a great drummer named Kevin Carnes, and we've been playing together, monthly ish, and are also have a workshop this spring on the books, and that's very free improvisation, which is um, which is a blast, but also a little can be a little like strange and even terrifying, um, to do in public in a way, right? It's like something a lot of us have done in some respect, but anyway, and then but my newest thing that I'm super excited about is in Madison. We've put together a few friends of mine, and I have put together a non-conducted or conductorless. I shouldn't say non-conducted because we conduct ourselves, but
Yeah.
like a chamber orchestra, string orchestra. Right now, our name is Ensemble Aubergine, named after the first venue we played at, and I believe we're going to be playing out March 15th. Venue TBD,
Okay.
but we're conductorless. We're kind of trying out this non-hierarchical approach to programming, where every concert someone different can program, because often that's the conductor, right?
Uh-huh.
So we're uh, potential, and we're trying to get into the community, where there's a lot of groups that have like an outreach component to what they do, but our idea is we are just in the community where the
Mm.
outreach is already there. So last the our next, I don't know, we're exploring various venues, and the idea is intimate chamber music, but 12 piece at least, orchestral full, exciting music, that to me, it's very exciting to engage and to watch, is chamber music in general. I love small ensembles, but then like sort of the bigger the small ensemble, the more exciting it can be. So 12 people with no conductor, all having to communicate, all doing this thing together, to me is really powerful. So I'm
Yeah.
super excited about that, and it's been like a fun process because a lot of people have stepped up in various ways to help out, because I think musicians like this kind of thing, and so Ensemble Aubergine. Check us out on Instagram or Facebook. Uh,
That's great.
you'll see where we pop up next once we've decided where we're
Sure.
popping up next.
All right.
Yeah,
Two more quick things, if I may. Just
sure,
another thing that you
absolutely.
said. Um, so, about the improvising sometimes being terrifying.
Yeah,
That's where I know at least some of my students, former students, the viewers of this are.
Yeah.
And there's two questions I have related to that. One of them, I think sometimes we fall into this perfectionist trap where out of anything that happens in such a group, there are just some people with a strong tendency to want to see the glass as half empty, or three-quarters empty, or, just focus on the things that could have gone better, that their brain a few seconds later is saying, oh, I should have done this instead. But there's got to be a degree to which your attitude in those situations is is constantly celebrating the things that go well. They're like, oh my gosh, we're plugged in. Check out what we just did off the top of our heads there. Yeah, I mean, is there, you know what I mean about this attitude of not being hypercritical when you're in such situations?
Yeah. Um, if you're the one creating the music, then it's not possible to make a mistake, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, it's like in improvisation or in any type of music, you have to, if you're performing, you have to keep looking ahead, and it's so hard to get out of that, the analytical, or your practice mode versus your performance mode. So when you're practicing, um, you're analyzing, and then you're stopping and you're fixing. Although I think one way to fix it, to change it, is you have to practice. Actually, I used to improvise for this improvisation dance class, like a contact improv.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I believe the teacher, the professor of that class, he said you need to practice not giving a so. Yeah, you just uh, to make that an actual practice, right? We think we have to analyze, and then we perform. But you have to sometimes just practice going for it and just getting in that mindset of it doesn't matter. And I think improvising can kind of be freeing in that way, and can kind of, especially if you're someone who's not as critical when you're improvising. Then for me, yeah, improvising before I have to take an audition, or play in a quartet concert, it can kind of free up my playing, free up my mind a little. And then with just getting started with improvising, you can put on a drone, um, put on cello drones or a tambura drone, in your favorite key, and just play notes in that scale, and just do that for a while. And then you could try putting the drone on a different note in that scale. So if, like, you're in the key of G, you put the drone on A, and then improvise in G, and then suddenly you're in the Dorian mode, and you're exploring this sound. And it's you can go pretty far with that, with just, again, you'll be just thinking melodically mostly, and you have to really try to get the rhythm into it. But just as far as just trying improvising, you just need seven notes, right? You just need, or less, really.
Right.
If the whole scale feels like too much, just pick three notes from the scale. So
Cool.
I think that was two questions that I answered.
Well, and
So
yet, and I know some of the students watching this will know that I'm directing this question somewhat for them.
sure.
You said earlier you enjoy scales. Is there also a degree to which, when you're practicing scales, your mind files away, pays attention to certain certain patterns that are, I mean, like there's a way to proactively practice scalar and just conjunct passages, just licks, in a way that keeps them at the top of your head, you
Hmm.
know, to where it's if you're just inspired to go in a particular direction, your fingers know this big toolbox of choices to draw upon,
Sure.
and how to do it in that instant.
Yeah, okay. I feel like there's two parts to it. With the vocabulary thing, yeah, you can find the music that you like, and try to learn it, right? And that's the best way, and really learn it, be able to play it by memory. I mean, the other thing with specific, and I don't know if this is part of the question, but I love learning from so violinists, they can play any scale in one position, 2 octaves, right?
Show offs.
Yeah, yeah. And but bassists have this thing where they pivot kind of, and so I think of it as position groups. So if I, the classic cello, E major scale, that's I'm moving all around. So if someone said, okay, improvise an E major, I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, am I gonna? I mean, yeah, I could. So I have I could hang in one of these, and I could find all the horizontal notes in E major. Of course, I don't get the full scale, right? Or I do it, I do it here with ordinary extensions. So, or I sort of go beyond the extension and I think position group. So I have these. I like doing 1 1 3 4. That way, so if I say, okay, it's not a position anymore, it's a position group. So then someone tells me to play an E major, I no longer I can pretend I'm a violin, right? And I can access all of those notes without moving very much. So okay, that's one of my secrets. But
I love it. I love it.
I feel like yeah, it's it's easy to get into hear a fiddler or a jazz violinist or a classical violinist and be like, how could I play that fast? And you maybe you can't, right? It's we play it but we can play faster than bassists, but there's ways that we can kind of and so that's why I think learning from bassists, because they do that a lot, this kind of pivoting. So so it's like I'm barely shifting. I'm it's like not it's like a half step shift even a shift,
Right. The thumb is planted in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe and with what I was just doing, maybe my thumb's a little flexible too, but maybe it's not. Yeah. Maybe right. If the thumb's planted, you're not really shifting. Yeah, it's a good point.
Cool. Wow, Aaron, this has been as much fun as I had hoped. And I mean, I know for any viewer, frankly, for myself too, I'm just like going to spend some time unpacking some of these possibilities. And I'm certainly going to check out your dissertation. I mean, that's such a very interesting and useful dimension in which to expand the Suzuki repertoire, which
Yeah,
is so
yeah.
widely used already.
Yeah. I mean, and I just think it's again like the Suzuki expanding the Suzuki method. It's something that people do anyway. But all of we're trying to teach cello, right? And yet all the music in Suzuki is past book one. It's mostly dead white men, right? And it's from a very specific region of Europe, and so centering some other music I think is great. Going towards so centering some American musicians, some Black musicians, thinking about improvisation, but also that's this it's also challenging and can be used to develop technique in the same way or in different ways, because also every student doesn't necessarily want to go into orchestral playing and so leading. Yes, I love the Boccherini concerto and I love that it leads there, but maybe for some people I think there's another goal that we can strive towards.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, more power to you, and I hope the project it's probably one of those things that can occupy you for however many years you want to let it.
Right. I mean, because there's so much there's an infinite amount of sort of knowledge there when you start studying a new genre of music and if you start studying someone's a jazz musician's improvisation, there's so many ways you can go about it. But and I, but one of the main things and one direction I kind of want to go with it is how can we teach students to do the transcribing too, right? A friend of mine suggested, it could be like a fill in the blanks, like because that's in the end, right? It should be about finding one's own voice
Yeah.
and find and so that means finding the music you like, becoming obsessed with it, dissecting it, as you would with classical, as you would with jazz, as you would with fiddle, so so finding ways of, how can students have those tools. So that's the work in progress part of it.
Tremendous, tremendous. Well, thank you again. This has been a real pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, great questions, and I like what you're doing over here. So
Well, terrific. All right. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
yeah,
And
thank
for
you.
those of you out there watching, we'll meet back this same time next Friday. Happy practicing in the meantime.
You had me at Cello, Cello. You had me at Cello.